Hey, are you massively in debt right now? Have you went through and basically like maxed out all your credit cards and maybe you went through a financial hardship and you were forced to kind of max out your credit cards just to survive? That's something I want to kind of talk to you guys about today, really briefly. So, give me a couple minutes of your time. I want to educate you really quick to something I just recently learned in the past few days. So, I went probably on this really big journey. A lot of you can relate to. Was doing well at one point in time. Credit score was in the high sevens, trying to bust my butt to get to the 800s. And was living great, was able to go to a dealership and get a car, a $100,000 car, no problem, right? So I hit a point about 2 years ago where I started taking some financial hardships where, the means to continue to operate and push from month to month kept growing. And some of these were legal battles, some of these were just moving expenses, just necessary expenses. So I ended up utilizing my credit cards. So I have about 6 to 8 credit cards out, ranging balances from a few $100s to my biggest credit card, which is through Chase. It's a Sapphire card, which was about a $20,000 balance. Now, when my credit score was really good, the banks was just like, here you go, here you go, here you go. So my strategy was basically use my credit cards, especially the ones with like Sapphire and Discover, and a couple ones that had like cashback options and points. I would use my day-to-day transactions and use my credit card, and then I'd immediately transfer money out of my checking account and pay off those credit cards almost within the same transaction. I'm banking off the points then. So I thought this was good. Continued that momentum. Financial hardship hits, and I'm like, okay, started using credit cards. I'm not able to actually pay those balances off. End up maximizing those credit cards, and I'm making basically for several months as I'm sort of in that survival mode, paying off the minimum payments on those credit cards. Now this sustained and this happened and continued to go on for about a year and a half to 2 year time. So finally here recently I hit a point where I was able to, basically what I call stack bricks, get extra sources of income. Those extra sources of income, my strategy was to start paying off my credit cards so that way my credit score can rivet back up out of the bottom where it's at right now. Right now, just to be fully transparent, I'm sitting at a high 500 credit score. It's not very good. I do have two delinquent things on my credit report recently, which was actually that big purchase I made, which was a car. It was a business adventure that I took to try to get. Basically, I got a Rover that I put on Turo and was told that I can make a passive income from that. I was making pretty good passive income when I moved. Unfortunately, the market wasn't able to sustain that. I ended up absorbing that. My lesson learned. Let me get back to the point here. So I did a few jobs, got a substantial amount of money. We'll say about $10,000 extra cash flow in for the month of October. And before that, any paycheck I got, basically what I would do is I would take that paycheck after I paid whatever necessary bills. I would take the other sum of it and pay towards my Sapphire card. And then I would continue to use my Sapphire card to make these transactions. Now, again, my credit usage is what they call it, was always maintaining around 90% on the closing end of it. 95%. There's even a few months where I was over the limit. Basically, what I would do was I would have a few dollars left on my credit on my Sapphire card, and I need to survive. I need to go to work. I need to go to school, and then I would go to the gas station, use that, remaining thing. If you have, a few dollars on your credit card, you can actually go to the gas station and pump $100 worth of gas, and they're not going to actually stop their transaction. What it does is it puts you over the limit. But as soon as I get paid, I pay it off again and, bring it back down. That was an ongoing cycle. Now, unbeknownst to me, as I started, transitioning out of that financial hardship and getting extra money and income coming in, I said, okay, I'm going to start paying on my credit cards. Now, there's basically three strategies you can use to do this. You can pay extra payments on every single card you have. And then over time, it eventually raises your credit score because your credit utilization goes down. That's one strategy. The second strategy is you pick one card and you pay it off, and then you go to the next card, you pay that card off, and you can work from your lowest card to your biggest card, or vice versa, from your biggest card to your lowest card. Now, for me, getting $10,000 extra, there's several cards that I could have just paid off, paid off, paid off. I could have taken out 3 or 4 of my lower credit cards and had them at zero balances. I decided to opt for the Sapphire card because that had the biggest balance. And it also, for me, I was paying more interest on it per month. So I thought, okay, the best strategy for me is to tackle my biggest credit card first, pay that off, send the, several $1,000s to this credit card to get that balance lower. So that's exactly what I did. Now, I got my balance down from basically $20,000 down to about $9,000 in 1 month. And I thought, okay, great. I've been checking my credit score. I've been waiting to see one, my utilization go down, which should then rivet my credit score up. Also, that should be really good for the banks to see one, I've always made my payments on time. If it's just a minimum payment or a little bit extra than the minimum payment, they can see this history. So here I go. I get a call from Chase. I didn't know it was Chase. Chase calls me up. It's some lady, and she goes, "Hey, this is Chase car services." It sounded like car services to me. I was like, okay, this isn't me. This is probably a spam or a telemarketer, fraud, whatever. They end up saying, okay, they hang up the phone. The next thing I know, I go to use my Sapphire card to make a transaction. I get declined. I'm like, what's going on? I should have at least a $10,000 balance. Immediately I go out, I call my bank, and they say, "Oh, we evaluated your credit profile, and you're a high risk, or you're a risky loaner. So we decreased your credit limit to lessen our exposure." And I was like, "Well, what do you mean by this? I don't understand this." So for me, I started getting into the formalities with them. I said, "Wait a minute, I've been doing this whole system for 2 years now. For 2 years, you guys haven't decreased my credit limit at all." And they're like, "Well, we probably couldn't do it at that time because that would put you at like 200% usage." And for some reason, they're very vague about that process. I understand why they decreased my credit limit because my credit score, and because of the derogatory mark on my credit. I understand that. But as far as the timing goes, I didn't understand. And so I'm spitting that case to them and saying, well, hey, here I am. I'm a man. I got into a financial hardship. I'm basically in this metaphorical rut that I put myself into. I'm taking accountability of it. But now that I'm starting to get up out of it, I got extra source of income coming in. I'm using that extra source of income to pay off my credit. You guys basically said, thank you for that. Boom, cracked me back down, shoved me back in that hole, and said, hey, we're not even going to worry about you anymore. Thank you for the $10,000, and we're going to decrease your credit limit. Now, what that happens to me is now my credit utilization, instead of going down to like 60% or 70%, because I paid that big chunk off, now my credit utilization is still going to sit at the 90% because now I have less credit. So I'm like, why are you guys doing this? I've been doing this for 2 years. One, you guys never called me and gave me any type of advice or guidance or resources while I'm in that financial hardship. I had to go through that all by myself. I had to figure it out. I had to go get the extra sources of income. Once I got the extra sources of income, then I had to go through and I gave you guys that money instead of being irresponsible with it or going making big purchases, whatever it may be. I decided I'm going to be responsible, and now I'm out of that financial hardship. I'm going to start paying off my credit card so I can get my credit score back up. All in the ruse of my objective is to get my credit score repaired and then to go buy a home. So that's me. So what I would want to tell you guys, for all intents and purposes, if you guys go to do that, say this video is for you. You guys, find this is your situation. Do not go through your bank. Do not go through your credit cards and pay a substantial amount of money on your biggest credit card. What I would do going back is I would evenly disperse that $10,000 onto all my credit cards, because then what that does is you're paying off all your credit cards evenly, and at the same time you're not going to flag their system that says, hey, let's reevaluate this guy's thing and see if we can take it and reduce his credit. If you do that, you're going to be good, and then just keep doing that throughout the time. Thanks, guys. If this applies to you, let me know in the comments. If this impacts you or if you guys need any more advice, let me know. I'll see you guys on the next one.